to the Dead Time Radio program. My name is Billy, and I'm with my buddy Don. Hi, Don.
Hello.
And we have some awesome stuff for you this evening.
Yes, we do.
We talk about a whole bunch of cool stuff on this show. Aliens, space buttholes, things like that. But we never really have any proof of stuff. So this show and the next show is going to be things that we've done, what we've been busy doing. Kind of reason why sometimes the shows are not always popped up the next day. And the reason why is because we've been ghost hunting, haven't we, Dawn?
Yay, we have.
We've been ghost hunting. We have got some pretty cool stuff for you to play with and listen to. We have had a lot of fun doing this, and we're going to continue to do it. So you're going to have a lot more shows where we do ghost stuff. But before we get to the good stuff, let me just say, our website is up. You can go to it. It's www.thedeadtimeradioshow.com. Check it out. It's still under a little construction. We're going to be posting some more stuff as soon as we get it. But I think you're going to enjoy what you see. You can give us an email still at thedeadtimeradio@gmail.com, or you can call us at 843-492-7966. So, with that being said, we went to one of the most haunted memorials in the country. Yeah. We went to the USS Yorktown.
Yes.
Now, a lot of people don't know what the USS Yorktown is. So this show is mainly going to be about a little history of what the USS Yorktown is, and then some haunted history of what the USS Yorktown is. And then the piece de resistance is the next episode will be all about the things we captured on the USS Yorktown. So you're going to want to stick around for that one.
Can I just say that this weekend we've been listening to all this stuff and getting everything ready, and there's some weird shit that's been happening in the CT department.
Yes, very
so
weird.
I'm in room 3 doing QC on the scanner, which, you know, you have like a water phantom and it just lets you know if the scanner's running correctly. So I'm in there. The security guard opens room 3 and says, hey, you have what was it, arrest?
A rapid assist.
Rapid assist. Somebody had hit the rapid assist button in room 1. I was like, no, this is 3. So I busted out of there, and I busted into room 1, and Billy's looking at me like, what? What's happened?
She caught me with my pants down.
No, he had just slid a patient over, nowhere near the button. The security guard sticks his head into, because he went around the proper way, but if there was something going on, I wanted to be right there. And Billy's like, what? I said, the code assist button has been pushed. And it was flashing yellow, so I'm pointing it with my finger, and the security guard's like, hey, is everything okay? Billy's like, yeah, I didn't do anything. I'm not even anywhere near it. So I'm pointing at the thing. I'm like, well, it's going off, and if you didn't hit it, somebody hit it, and then it just went off. Like, you have to cancel the code assist. You have to push the cancel button on the box. It went off. I never hit the box. He never hit the box. So that's one of the freaky things that happened this weekend.
Was very, very weird. And then we had a few things, like a patient that came in, and their bed, it's like an electric bed. So it'll go up, it'll go down. You can raise the head, raise the feet. It's like what are those fucking beds, the adjustable beds that they always have on the TV that old people buy?
There's a Select Comfort that does that.
Yeah, that's it. Select Comfort. So it's like a portable Select Comfort. You can adjust everything on it. So usually we have to like line up the bed with the table to slide the patient across. Well, this nurse comes in, super hot nurse. I just have to say that. Comes in, and we're getting ready to transport the patient, but for some reason the elevation on the bed will not go up. It will not go up.
But it'll lay the head down. The head lay down.
It'll lay the patient flat, but the bed will not go up any. And she's like, well, it was working in the room. So we were like, well, it ain't working here. So we get the patient done. She gets it back over. About an hour later, she comes back with another patient. And she says, you know, that bed worked as soon as I went back into the room and plugged it back in. So that was weird. And then the next bed that she brought in, this one would not level out. Dawn was trying to like elevate the thing, and it kept dipping the patient's head lower.
Trendelenburg. Okay, so if you're Trendelenburg impatient, you have to go to the bottom of bed, flip a little thing up. It's like a little cover, and you have to Trendelenburg that way, and it gives you the degrees.
Dawn, you have to describe what Trendelenburg
Trendelenburg is head down, feet up. So if their blood pressure is low, you bring their feet up. Like if you put your feet on a pillow or when you have low blood pressure.
Right.
So the button that I was pushing was just the head down, but what the bed was doing was tipping the head down, the whole entire bed. So the patient had a brain tube which goes straight into your ventricles. And the pressure on that thing, it has to be equal with the head. So the nurse is yelling at me because the bed is tipping. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm just laying the head down. This button doesn't even control that part of the bed.
Yeah, it's very
So
weird.
it was really wicked. Like, there's two other things that happen. It's just wicked stuff.
And for those of you who don't know, the ventricles are like little reservoirs in your brain
That go down
where the
your
cerebral spinal fluid
spinal
sits.
column. Yeah, it floats up and down through your spinal column.
There's
into
your
head.
medical lesson for the day.
Yeah, so wicked stuff's happening since we've been working on this stuff. And
Yes. So it's been fun, though, because I'm kind of a skeptic on a lot of things. That's why this show works, I think, because Dawn's a little more a believer than I am. So I'm kind of that, I need a little more proof than just it happened kind of thing. And I'm starting to jump off that fence. I have been sitting on the fence for a long time, but some of the stuff I got is pretty compelling. I don't know what it is. I can't explain it. But you'll see. You'll hear some stuff. Maybe we'll give you a little taste of some of it tonight before the next episode, just so you can hear some of the weird stuff that's been going on.
so I was super excited because I had been to the Yorktown even before I moved here. I went with my husband and my son. Well, we got to tour the two ships and the submarine. And you could feel there was people, and I could hear voices behind us, knowing that there was no one there, and you only have the guide there.
I think one of them goosed me,
Did it goose you?
maybe.
You like to be goosed, though.
Well, not by guy ghosts. It's not my...
There's no girl on there.
That's not a team I play
It's
for.
a Navy ship.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I don't want to get goosed by guy ghost. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
But I knew that it had activity before we even got on there. So I was super excited. Nicole, she found it, and she's like, oh, they're doing a paranormal thing, and we got to go. And it filled up really super fast. So
With all the people that we love to work with,
yeah, we want to do it again. We want to do more.
even if we had not gotten any
Investigations.
evidence, we had so much fun.
It was just
I love the people I work with. They're the most fabulous people on the planet to me.
I agree.
They're fun. They like to do stuff. They're not fuddy-duddies. It sticks in the mud. Maybe it was Steve that goosed me.
Did Steve goose you?
Maybe he did. I don't know.
I don't think Steve would do that.
So I'm going to give you a little rundown of what the Yorktown is, okay? We're going to go all the way back to American Revolution. Everybody knows Yorktown, Virginia, was the turning point of the war. That's where we actually started winning against Great Britain. And George Washington and some of the French army kicked some booty. Mr. Comte Rochambeau. So in other words, George Washington kicked somebody in the nuts. He Rochambeaued him.
Rochambeaued you.
He Rochambeaued you for Yorktown. And he won.
He won, so we got it.
That's right. And that's how our beautiful country finally became its own entity. Now, the first ship named the Yorktown was a U.S. Navy sloop of war built in 1838. She was 117 feet long and 34 feet wide. Armed with 16 32-pounder guns, she was very well armed for her time. The Yorktown served in the Pacific Ocean for 10 years before being mothballed. 2 years later, she was recommissioned and sent to the coast of Africa to hunt down illegal slave ships. She returned home to Boston and was again mothballed. However, she was again recommissioned and sent to stop illicit slave traffic. But she hit an uncharted reef off the Isle de Mayo in the Cape Verde Islands on September 1850 and sank.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
It's a cool one. It kind of looks like what you would think of a pirate ship.
Yeah, it's the old
It
sloops.
has the cross. Well, for those of us that don't know anything about ships, it looks like a pirate ship.
This is off of starbase400.org, by the way. It's Yorktown history.
Yeah.
The second ship to carry on the name Yorktown was a steel-hulled twin-screws gunboat. Screws is what they call the propellers, by the way.
Twin screws, so two propellers
Yeah.
under the bottom. Okay.
She was commissioned on 23 April 1889. She was 244 feet long and 36 feet wide, so she was bigger than the first one, while displacing 1,910 tons. Now, do you know what displacement means?
Push.
Like if you put something in water, they find out the weight by how much water is pushed away from it.
Right. So you fill the bathtub up, and then if you're too fat, it's going to roll over the
Right.
side of the bathtub.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
that's displacement.
1,910 tons. Her armament was 6-inch breed loading rifles, two 6-pounder, two 3-pounder rapid-fire guns, and two 37mm Hotchkiss revolving cannons, and two Gatling guns.
Ooh, I like Gatling guns.
This Yorktown spent her first 4 years in the Mediterranean Sea, Gulf of Mexico, and Pacific Ocean. She also sailed to the Bering Sea. I hate that they wrote it like that. It's not Bearing, you fucking morons. There's no A in Bering Sea. To protect seals from poachers.
Oh.
In 1893, she returned to the east coast of the United States for repairs. Then she returned to the Pacific, where she remained until Earth's World War I. In 1918, she headed for the Atlantic Ocean for convoy duty. She was decommissioned on 12 June 1919 and sold for scrap in 1921.
Wait, why would they call it Earth's War? Where else would it be? Like Mars's
Right,
War?
right.
Like your
This
first
ship was on Earth World War One.
Earth's World War. What? That's just the weirdest
That is a
wording I've ever. Like, okay, so we're going to go on Mars World War
That's
One.
a good catch, dude. That's
Earth's-
a really good catch. Earth World War One.
Earth World War One. I was like, what
are
does
you
that
gonna
even mean?
What are you gonna do? The motherfucker can't spell Bering
What
Sea
does
properly.
that even mean?
And there were no Navy SEALs in 1893, so I don't know what SEALs they were protecting from poachers.
Not Navy SEALs, SEALs.
Oh.
Like at SeaWorld and stuff.
Like Club a Seal?
No, you don't club a seal. That's what they were protecting people from doing. Don't club a
Don't
seal.
club your local Navy SEAL.
No.
He'll kick your ass. The third USS Yorktown was the fifth aircraft carrier in the United States Navy, CV-5. CV means aircraft carrier, but in case people didn't know. CVN means nuclear powered aircraft carrier.
Why
Look
is
at
there a V in
You're
there?
Getting naval. You're getting naval history as well.
Well, what's the V mean? Carrier,
I'm not sure.
a C, and what's the V?
Carrier V. I can't remember.
Vehicle?
It's been a while since I remember. It could be vehicle.
But it's not a vehicle.
CV-5 was the first of her class. The Yorktown class was started in 1933 and would consist of 3 ships, the Yorktown, Enterprise, and Hornet. The Hornet has a pretty nasty history itself. This Yorktown was commissioned by Mrs. Eleanor Roosevelt, wife of the U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt, on 30 September 1937. The ship was at Norfolk, Virginia on 7 December 1941 when the Japanese attack at Pearl
US
Harbor. She departed for the Pacific on the 16th and became the flagship of Rear Admiral Frank J. Fletcher and his Task Force 17. In late January 1942, the Yorktown and Enterprise conducted the first U.S. offensive operations of the war by attacking Japanese bases in the Gilbert and Marshall Islands. The Yorktown's first enemy kill was a 4-engine Mavis patrol bomber during the action. In late April 1942, Task Force 17 joined Task Force 11, built around the carrier USS Lexington, for the Battle of the Coral Sea. This was the first battle where opposing ships never saw sight of each other. During the battle, a member of the Yorktown's fighter squadron, Jimmy Flatley, stood out as an ace pilot. Planes from Yorktown and Lexington sunk the Japanese light carrier Shoho and heavily damaged the large carrier Shokaku, but at a loss. The USS Lexington was also sunk and the Yorktown damaged. She returned to Pearl Harbor for repairs, but was underway again 72 hours later. She joined Task Force 16, built around her sister ships Enterprise and Hornet, for the epic Battle of Midway, which was the turning point of the Pacific War. During this turning point in World War II, was that Earth World War II?
It was Earth's World War.
Okay.
Yes.
We got to make sure.
We got to make sure it's
We
not
gotta
the
know
Mars
what war
War.
planet
Yep.
we're on. The 3 U.S. carriers sunk 4 Japanese carriers, 1 cruiser, and heavily damaged another cruiser. However, the Yorktown was also sunk during the fighting. So
That Yorktown. So
that Yorktown
that was the third one they
saw
sunk.
some action.
So why don't they change the name? They've already fucking sunk 3 Yorktowns. So why don't they use another name?
Well, they only
That
sunk
sounds
2.
like that's jinxing.
They sold this one for scrap. So the fourth one is the one that we went on. And that was an aircraft carrier like her predecessor, CV-10, was an Essex-class ship, commissioned 13 April 1943. She was 890 feet long and 196 feet wide. That's a big ship, man. Also like CV-5, Mrs. Eleanor Roosevelt, wife of the U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt, presided over the commissioning ceremonies. Now, here's the weird thing that our tour guide told us about when we went on this little hunt. That ship was predominantly built by women, because if people don't know the history of World War II, and they should, most of the men were at war, so the women did all the jobs. That's where you got Rosie the Riveter. So these women were building these ships and sending them out for their husbands, brothers, fathers, all that stuff to go to war in.
Right.
So these ships were solid because there was a lot of love and heart and soul put into them to make sure that these people came home safe.
They knew they were going to be holding their families. So they're like, we're doing this right. This is going to be done right.
Exactly. Which was awesome. And they did it fast. I mean, this thing was built in 15 months.
Yeah.
So the other strange and interesting thing, this ship already had its own little strangeness from the beginning, was when they tried to commission it and they did the whole ceremony with the champagne bottle.
Yeah, this was cool.
Where they christened the ship.
Yeah.
Eleanor Roosevelt didn't want to because she was afraid that she would jinx it because she christened the first one. So when she tried to christen it, apparently the ship basically put itself out to port.
Started moving. So she was running.
Right. So she had to chase after the boat because it was basically launching itself.
Yeah.
And she tried to hit it with the champagne bottle, and she hit it, but the bottle didn't break. So then she grabbed it,
kept running,
and had to swing again, and she finally broke the bottle. And not only did she christen the ship, but she also christened the commander of the ship with champagne all over the place.
Yeah.
So that was the beginning of CV-10, which is pretty interesting.
Like, we're going out to sea, dude. This is what we're doing.
Right. So it started with the name the Bonhomme Richard, which was renamed Yorktown before building was completed to honor CV-5, lost a few months before at the Battle of Midway. So the ship has also shared two more things with CV-5. Her first air group commander was Jimmy Flatley, formerly aboard CV-5. Also, her first commanding officer was Captain J.J. Jacko Clark, whom was XO of the CV-5.
What's XO?
Executive officer. So he's the second in command.
Thank you.
Designed to carry 90 planes into battle, the ship would see several refits and improvements in nearly 30 years of service. The Yorktown saw her first action in World War II by attacking the Japanese base on Marcus Island in the Pacific. She was the first of the brand new Essex class to see combat. CV-10 was also an actor. The ship and her crew starred in the 1944 war documentary The Fighting Lady, which became the ship's nickname, and won an Academy Award.
Cool.
She was also seen in the movies Tora Tora Tora, which is a great movie, a movie about the attack on Pearl Harbor, and Jet Carrier. Though throughout the war, the Yorktown would team with a ship she would share so much history with, the USS Enterprise, not the Star Trek one.
Clarification.
Both ships were members of Task Force 3858, TF-38 when Admiral Halsey was in command, TF-58 when Admiral Mitcher was in command. The ship was evolved. The ship was evolved in many other major Pacific battles.
Was evolved, not involved.
Oh my God. Involved.
Was involved.
Whoever wrote this is making my fucking brain hurt. Involved in many of the major Pacific battles from 1943 through 1945 when the war ended. In 1953, the ship was refit with improved radar and a new island, which is basically where, if you look at pictures, it's that tower part of the ship.
Okay.
Other improvements allowed the ship to carry and operate jets from her deck. She was reclassified as an attack cruiser, CVA 10, in 1955. The ship again entered dry dock to undergo another major refit. This time, the refit would allow the ship to launch and recover planes at the same time. An angled flight deck. Also during the refit, the ship was again reclassified, but this time as an anti-submarine carrier, CVS. So are you noticing a pattern here?
Yeah.
Okay.
A is attack and
A is attack, S is sub.
Okay.
So when you see like an SSB, that's a SSBN is a nuclear ballistic submarine.
So I need someone, a naval officer, to tell me what the V stands for. If it is vehicle or if it is a
We can find out.
vessel.
We don't need a naval officer. We've got Google, dog.
Vessel. I know, but I want people to interact.
Yeah.
There's people listening because
This meant the ship would be direct. Oh, speaking of,
what?
www.thedeadtimeradioshow.com.
Can we give a shout out to the Bulldog Tours because he was amazing.
Yeah.
So they
definitely.
do all kind of tours around Charleston. If y'all want to come down here and visit sometime, they have ghost tours, they have jail tours, they have dungeon tours, they have paranormal tours. So the people that we've worked with, and there's so many. If you get on the website, there's like maybe 25 different tour guides, but the one that we had, he was super awesome.
Yeah, he was amazing.
So Bulldog Tours, y'all look it up if y'all want to come down and
and
do
their
some ghost
prices
tours.
are reasonable too.
Yeah, they're very good.
I mean, it was $75 a ticket, and it was all access to places even tourists can't go
Yeah,
at 10 o'clock at night,
yeah.
and we had 2 hours. to
And they
just run.
provide you with all the equipment that you're going to need. They had the rods, they had a pendulum, they had EVP, they had a FLIR.
Yeah, they had
What else they had?
electromagnetic pulse
EMP.
detectors.
Yeah, they had-
with
it's like-
thermometers.
You choose what you want to take with you when you go through. So it was super.
They even had
super.
a ghost grid.
They did have a ghost grid. We didn't use it, but they had a ghost grid.
And the ghost grid is basically like it's like a laser grid that you put against an object and you sit it there. And if there's ghosts, they'll walk through the grid and you can see them.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
Cool.
Again, I'm kind of a skeptic, but he did show us a video of some weird shit using
Yeah.
that grid, which is kind of interesting. So yeah, it was reclassified as an anti-submarine carrier. This meant the ship would be directly responsible for hunting and countering the Soviet Union's submarine superiority over the U.S. The United Stated. This guy is fucking
What?
killing me, dude.
United Stated.
From 1965 to 1966, the USS Yorktown was again in combat. She was sent into the Gulf of Tonkin off the coast of Vietnam. She launched strikes against communist targets while patrolling the coast. Do you know what other aircraft carrier was in the Gulf of Tonkin?
What's that?
The USS Hornet.
The Hornet.
Yes.
Cool.
In 1969, the Yorktown returned home for the last time. She was decommissioned that year after earning 15 battle stars, the Presidential Unit Citation, as well as many other awards, and starring in 3 movies. However, in 1970, the ship was towed to Charleston, South Carolina, became the first ship that was part of the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. If you guys come down here, you've got to check it
You
out.
have
It's
to.
so cool.
It's so cool. They at the back where it's not even part of the tour, like you just go in and it's kind of to the left. They have tanks. They have it's set up like old bunkers, and they have like Life magazine from 1940. It's just super cool through there.
Yeah.
It's I like it. My son and I like it. The submarine is my favorite, but it is tiny. It's tight spaces, and I don't know how those boys were on those submarines because they are super.
Well, they
like
used to have to
if
get
you're
psych
claustrophobic,
evaluations.
if you're claustrophobic, like you may not want to go in here, but it is an experience to go through there and see where they had to sleep, and it was very eye-opening of them, the boys having to be in that submarine for how long they had to be in that submarine.
And imagine the fact, okay, you're in this small space, you got all that BO, and you're like hundreds of feet underwater.
Right. If anything happens, you're done.
So, yeah, they had to get, every time they came back from their tour, they had to get psych evals.
Well, you couldn't think about it because if you did, you would lose your
And
mind.
If you failed your psych eval, you couldn't go back on the ship.
Yeah, that's smart because if you failed your psych eval, then you're going to murder everybody in the submarine.
So now the Yorktown actually has a name to another newer ship, which is a guided missile cruiser of the Ticonderoga class. Now, see how this says CG?
What's
Cruiser guided.
that? Cruiser
was-
guided. Okay.
566 feet long and 55 feet wide, carried the Aegis combat system, which is really awesome. And let's see.
That's the other ship that you also tour when you come.
Right, there's a destroyer called
Right.
the Laffey, and then this is the destroyer USS Laffey, that also served alongside the Yorktown during World War II, and the submarine USS Clemenger.
Yeah, the Yorktown, the flight deck is massive. Like, it was, what did you say, 2-3 football fields?
Yeah, it was fucking massive.
It was huge. But yeah, I like the ship too. The ship was, we didn't do the paranormal tour on this ship, but if you go there, you can tour the ship. That was pretty wicked too.
So this other Yorktown, the 5th Yorktown, was decommissioned in 2005, recommissioned by special order in 2009. In 2010, she was involved in an attack in the Middle East near Iran. In the engagement, the Yorktown shot down 3 aircraft and sunk a gunboat, taking only minor damage herself. In 2012, she was decommissioned. She's towed in Charleston. She's here in Charleston.
Yeah, that's the other ship.
And she became the newest edition of the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum.
Yeah.
Now, here's a cool little side bit that you probably didn't know. When I lived in Maine, there's a place called the Bath Iron Works that's right there on the Kennebec River. That's where they build the new destroyers.
Oh, cool.
So there's this gigantic bridge that you drive over going from Bath, Maine to where I live and where my mom and dad lived. And you can look and can see them building the ship right there in the water.
Cool.
So you see from like ground up. It's really awesome. And that's where this
Cool.
Ticonderoga cruiser, no, that's a cruiser, so it wasn't built there. But the destroyer was. So the newer destroyers have rail guns on them, like sci-fi
Ooh.
fucking weaponry, man.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Just to go see it. It's incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, this guy is a moron because now all of a sudden the first starship, Yorktown, okay, now we're getting into make-believe. And it's all Star Trek shit. Look at that.
I see that. That's not what we need.
That's probably why he said Earth World War One.
Oh, now that makes sense.
Yeah, well, he's a
Now that
goofball.
makes sense. Okay.
Now that you have a little history of the Yorktown,
Yeah.
there is a story behind this ship. It's truly creepy. With hundreds this is off of onlyinyourstate.com. South Carolina haunted ship, South Carolina.
South Kakalaki.
With hundreds of years under her belt, the Charleston area is easily one of the most haunted places in the South. But there's a ship in the harbor with a much shorter history of less than 100 years, and she's considered by some to be among the most haunted places in the Low Country. Wow. During World War II, Yorktown earned 12 battle stars and the Puck for extraordinary heroism in action. Yorktown later went on to earn 5 more battle stars during the Vietnam War. Now it's a museum. Some people leave the tour feeling disappointed they didn't see a ghost. But then they get home and look at the photos taken and find a completely different story. Mm-hmm. Recently, South Carolina ETV toured the ship looking for ghosts, and you won't believe what they caught on their unmanned video cameras. Take a look at the South Carolina ETV YouTube video below to learn what they found on the Yorktown. So this is on onlyinyourstate.com. We will post this video on our site.
On the website, yeah.
As soon as I can figure out how to actually post videos, that is. So let's take a look at it real quick, Don. Let's see what we got here. Ooh, palmetto scene. Ugh, creepy. So there's a chick that's doing an investigation. Let's fast forward this. This is like 7 minutes. Get to the real part. Yeah, fuck that. I'm not gonna sit there and watch a stupid video of this dumb bitch.
I just have to clip that out of there.
Yeah.
So one of the cool things that I thought that the tour guide was talking about was one of the sailors had like snuck a dog in onto the ship,
Yes.
right? A little tiny
Sparky,
dog,
right?
Sparky, yeah. His
Yeah.
name was Sparky. And the commander had no idea that this dog was on the ship. So they take off. They're in the middle of the ocean. They're sailing for a while. The commander doesn't know the dog's even on there until the dog starts barking. So the commander is like livid. And he's like, y'all aren't supposed to do this. What are we going to do with this dog? You know, goes off. So then the way they smooth it over is they tell the commander that they've named the dog after him. They didn't do that, but that's how they do to kind of, you know, the tour guide said, soften his steel heart or whatever. So some of the EVPs have a freaking dog barking in it.
Yeah.
Like there's no dog on the ship that we brought and that is there currently. It like you could hear the dog barking. I'm like, there's a dog.
It was really cool. Now, one thing I also want to give a shout out to is the other little group that was with us was a family. I think they're from Missouri. I think they were out here visiting. And they were the most awesome people.
Yeah.
They were really interested in the stuff. They had fun. We tried to make them feel part of our group. And, you know, there's a lot of stuff that it's hard when you have a big group because you have a lot of things that you have to kind of filter out to make sure it's not somebody in the group making a noise or talking or something like that. There's a few things that I'm still like, I don't know, that could have been somebody in the group. But there's really compelling stuff. And I'm tempted to not make you wait a week for the second part of this episode.
Right.
Because this is building up to something, just so you guys know. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but just let me tell you that the season finale is going to knock your socks off. You're going to enjoy the shit out of it.
So the family that was there, they were very respectful because they knew we told them that we have a podcast and we're going to be recording the EVPs, and we recorded the entire time. So we went through 2 hours of footage and, you know, audio stuff. So every time we would record or ask questions, it was dead silence. They were very respectful. They didn't talk. And that's what I was talking to Billy before we got on there. I was like, we could get a group that goes with us that are, you know, punk teenagers that are talking all the time or woo-wooing or no, they were amazing. So
yeah, we were both really worried about that because we didn't want to corrupt any evidence.
Right.
You know, we want to come off as legitimate. I am an audio engineer because I'm a musician and I've been doing my music stuff for, over 30 years. So I am really tuned in to listening to audio. It's like, it's what I do. So when I watch a lot of these ghost story shows, I kind of chuckle because I know how easy it is to manipulate an audio file to make it sound like anything you want. And there's quite a few EVPs that I've listened to online that I listen to and I go, this is bullshit. These people fucking put this in there. They're like, it's like they know how to Photoshop audio files like people know how to Photoshop pictures. And it infuriates me because it not only makes a mockery of people who are really interested in this and want to get to the bottom of it and get answers, and people who just want to make a quick buck. We're not doing this to make a quick buck. We're literally actually curious about what in the fuck goes on. If you've listened to us long enough for these past 3 seasons, you know we question shit, and I question shit, and Don has a whole different viewpoint on things, and I have a different viewpoint, and that works out nice because we discuss stuff, and that's why you guys enjoy the show.
Right.
So I want to preface that because, yes, I'm pretty skeptical about a lot of shit, okay? It's kind of ironic that I'm a pagan, but I'm still skeptical about stuff. I'm not an agnostic. I don't think when you die, that's it. You're done. You're just in the dirt. Blah, blah, blah. I do have beliefs of what happens in the afterlife, but I'm curious as well. I want to hear what other people think of the afterlife. So it was really interesting to have these people come in here and be so respectful and so kick-ass and just beautiful people, man. They were really cool. And there was a lot of crazy stuff that the next show we're really going to talk about. We'll dig into it. It's about...
So, family, if you're listening, if you could send us an email and get in contact with us. We got like photos that we can send you. We've got these EVPs that we can send you if you don't, if you want it for your own personal thing to show all your friends.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, just get in contact with us. We won't share any of that information. That's just for us to send this information to you guys.
Yeah, so you can send us an email, thedeadtimeradio@gmail.com, or you can go to the website, www.thedeadtimeradioshow.com.
Yeah, you can drop us an email there.
Or you can call and leave a message and say, hey, we're that family that was there in Missouri, or from Missouri with you guys on the Yorktown. 843-492-7966. I'm getting good at these segues.
Yeah, you are.
I am. I mean, this is a learning experience. We're amateur ghost hunters right now. I went out and got a really good recorder because the other recorders we had were starting to annoy me with the amount of static that was in them. So me being a perfectionist when it comes to audio, dude, I got to have the best for
Right.
what I want to do. And
Right.
I'm really happy with what I got, because we get some really clear shit.
Yeah.
Now, keep in mind, too, the Yorktown is a gigantic ship, but some of these corridors are really, really narrow. And there's a lot, I mean, the ship's made out of metal, so you do get a lot of reflection in the pictures. You get a lot of things that maybe look like orbs, but maybe it's just the infrared light of your camera is reflecting off the metal and then coming back into the lens, which is totally happening. But
Billy, some of those, that one that I got.
yeah, there's
that,
a couple that
like
I can't answer. I can't give a...
That wasn't a lens flare. That
Yeah.
was
I can't
like
give a
it
legit
moved
answer.
up and it moved down and it was.
And then one of my favorite shows that I used to watch all the time, Ghost Hunters,
Yes.
actually did an investigation of the Yorktown. And the coolest thing they have, we were down in this area called the Map Room, and the tour guide was talking to us about how it used to be different. And it was like it showed a map of the bay, and then it had a whole bunch of like dummies and stuff in there, and they had it all set up like this little like open shop type of thing. And Jason and Grant were in there with an infrared camera, and they actually saw a figure that was leaning against the wall that stood up and then walked through one of the ports
Yeah, the portal.
into another room and just disappeared. And it's really cool. You can check that
Yeah,
out
so
on
Ghost
dailymotion.com. Just
Yeah.
type in Ghost Hunters. I believe it was
USS Yorktown.
Haunting of Heroes or something like that. Haunted Heroes.
Haunted Heroes. Yeah, I think you're right.
It was like a second season, or it was in 2012 when that episode came out, and our tour guide told us about it. And I checked it out, and it's actually really cool. I think of all the ghost hunters, I think those guys were my favorite because I think they
debunk.
stood on the line of being semi-legit.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand these ghost hunter shows have to like embellish a little bit so people stay entertained, because if every show was like, we didn't get shit, well, why the fuck am I watching this show?
Right.
But with that being said, I think they probably have got the most legit stuff. So I'm looking at some of the things that other people have said about their trips to the Charleston and to the Yorktown, and I like reading this stuff because it's different people. So here, I'm going to read this one about this lady who came to the Yorktown. Scott and I were celebrating our 25th anniversary. We started our self tour of the USS Yorktown in the morning. So in other words, broad daylight. The upper decks of the Yorktown are pretty narrow, and only one person at a time can climb the stairs and enter doorways one at a time. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's totally small.
It is a massive ship and quite an experience. I recommend you see it at least once. Anyway, there wasn't a big crowd at all, middle of the week and still off season. We had for the moment the front section of the ship all to ourselves, which is great and getting great photos. Scott was taking his time, and I started the outside climb to the bridge. About halfway up, I called down to Scott to get a move on, and he began to make his way to the bottom of the ship. Steps, sorry. I remind you, at this point, there is absolutely no one on this part of the ship. If there was, you would definitely see them. The sun was bright, and it was nearly a cloudless day. I walk around the outside, the deck of the bridge, which is very narrow and leads only one way, and that is around a tiny corner, and then immediately into the bridge room, navigation and such. I stepped over the threshold into the room lit only by 3 portholes. The sun's rays held back by the canopy over the outer deck. I took my camera and, looking down, started to adjust the settings. I was just looking up when a silhouetted figure blocked out the light from the portholes one by one as they quickly walked toward the door, and I thought, wow, he really moved it up those steps. And at the same time, looking toward the doorway, said, well, that was fast. No answer. I waited a second and said, Scott? No answer. I walked to the door. He wasn't there. I walked to the outer deck, which takes about 2 steps. No Scott. Anywhere. No one at all. I walked to the stairs and look. Scott was just climbing up at the bottom. I backed up, trying to process what in the world I saw. I walked back into the room, facing the portholes, still thinking. I heard footsteps behind me and a thump on the threshold to the communications room behind me. I jumped and whirled around, and it was a tourist coming from the back of the ship from the inside. He apologized for startling me. I kind of sort of laughed. He looked around, and the portholes blocked out, and I whirled around again as Scott walked into the room. The tourist left, blocking the light from the portholes, and I proceeded to tell Scott what happened. He said something like, oh, neat, or okay, fine, I'm moving on, or something like that, and thus began his inside tour of the upper decks. So the photos that she's talking about I can see already right now that that's reflection from metal. They're showing some pictures here.
But if the light's blocked out,
yeah, but this
from
I don't
the
think
portal.
this isn't the navigation room right here.
no,
though.
but she's talking about the top picture.
Yeah.
It looks like there's
Yeah, but again,
You walk
there's all
by.
that metal. You know what I mean? So that can fuck things up. And this is off of irrelevanttale.wordpress.com, 2018. We'll put a link on our page or something. You can check it out, read the story yourself. But it's still pretty interesting. Everybody that goes there says that they experience at least something.
yeah. I heard voices.
Yeah. So even Live 5 News has something here. Whoa, they took some pictures. Oh, that's the picture he showed us.
That's the picture he showed us. It's
So when you're on the flight deck, they got all these different airplanes. And apparently they had a tourist there at one time who was a pilot of one of the planes that's there. And he talked about his buddy who flew that plane. No, it was the daughter of somebody whose her great uncle flew the plane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a relative, yes.
And she talked about that's the plane he flew, the one that's on that deck. And talked about how she just randomly stuck the camera up by the cockpit and took a picture and didn't think anything of it. And then when she got home, she looked at the picture and there is a silhouette of a pilot sitting in the cockpit. Now, granted, there's a couple of planes that have dummies in them.
right.
This one had no dummy.
This
in
one
it.
is clear.
And it's a very transparent silhouette, but it's got enough detail that you can see.
But it has
looks
the
like
earmuffs on.
Right.
It has the old leather.
Right.
Like you can see that it
and the flight jacket. And all
Yeah,
that
the
stuff.
jacket, the
So
bomber
it was
jacket.
Very fascinating.
with the fuzzy collar.
Yeah.
It just looks like you would imagine that they look.
So if you go to live5news.com and search for Haunted Charleston, USS Yorktown, there's some cool pictures on there.
Yeah.
And then here's I think the picture of, this is from Ghost Hunters, where they show the picture of
That's
the figure. There's
That's
the figure
the person.
on the right.
Yeah.
And
He's leaning on the picture. You can actually see it
we're going to post that video
to the right of
because
that
that's just really cool.
triangle. It's just leaning against the. Just
Yeah.
like you would do if you were waiting on somebody to finish what they were saying
Right.
and then move on.
Yeah. So there were 141 men who died on that ship. There's not many veterans still alive on that ship. But I would be over the moon to be able to talk to somebody that served on that ship.
Yes. So if we can interview you if you listen to our podcast or if your grandpa, one of the things that really strikes my heart when you go in there, they have a lot of Boy Scouts that come and that stay the night. They have troops and they actually created a wall with A through Z and each letter of the people that died, the 141, they have dog tags hanging there. So it is you could touch the people. You could see all the B's, all the dog tags hanging there on the B letter. Like those people passed away. It was just, it affected me a lot just to walk up to that wall and see, the names are different. These are dog tags. These are what they issue you to put on you when you die. You have a toe tag and a dog tag, and these are dog tags that are hanging there. So it's just, it's pretty emotional thinking that all those dog tags are people. So that got my heart.
Yeah, it's
And the Boy Scouts created that. That was their idea, and they.
being a veteran, I love all this stuff anyway. Just getting in there and hearing the history of stuff, and I'm fascinated with all of the conflicts that this country's been involved in. So I'm gonna give this other shout out. I know Don already did, but if you go to www.bulldogtours.com, you can get on there and you can look at all the different tours they have for the Yorktown, and they also have other ghost tours other than the Yorktown. Trust me, Charleston's pretty fucking haunted. You
It's
should
totally
come
haunted.
down here. It's a great place.
It's totally haunted.
And it's a great town. It stays warm most of the year.
Yeah.
We're getting a lot of rain right now, but
Our beaches are beautiful. You want to go to Isle of Palms or Folly
Yeah,
Beach or
absolutely.
Sullivan's Island is like old Carolina. So it's that's what my family. That's where we go. That's my favorite. I like to take my son there because it's not touristy. There's not a lot of people there. So that's Isle of Palms. If you go to Isle of Palms, they have like bathrooms and changing areas and a playground. And so if you have a family, the Isle of Palms is a pretty good place to go to the beach. But yeah, y'all should come and visit. We
Yeah.
have so much stuff. But yeah, that if you click on Charleston Haunted Tours, there's pages and pages.
Oh, yeah, it's like amazing all the things that they've found, and I mean that ship's got some history, man. I mean it's as a vet would say, it's seen some shit.
Right? Yeah.
So, totally, I had such a fucking awesome experience there, and the next show we'll dig into some of that, and we'll play some audio for you guys, and you can decide. I'm gonna tell you what I think it says. And, you know, you might not be able to hear it. You have to really listen on some of them. I'm a good audio technician, but I've never worked with just EVPs where there's so much other sound going on around it. So please forgive me if some of the quality is not the best. It's still a work in progress. I'm getting there, but I think I'm getting better at it.
Well, my ear's not as tuned, so when I'm like, I don't hear it. So he has to compress it, and you know, he has to make a little bit of tweaks because, of course, he can hear it, but I can't hear it. So he has to make it to where my layperson ear can hear it. So,
and I will tell you, I am approaching these EVPs as a skeptic. So there is no magic potion shit I'm putting into it. There's only two things I'm doing. I'm adding compression and I'm adding limiting so I can boost the sound, but also compress the wave file itself so the sound sounds the same. And that helps bring out some of the lower nuances of things. There's so many ones that I've heard where they're adding reverb and they're doing all this crazy shit. And I'm like, you guys are not doing it right. You're fucking it up on purpose because you either want to scare somebody or you're trying to make money out of it. Now, some of the other cool things that other equipment that we brought was another thing that I'm really skeptical about is the spirit box, because it's basically an FM modulator, which means it looks for empty FM channels and then words come out of that. And I've seen so many videos of that stuff, and I don't know, I could probably sit there and debunk that 7 million times. I mean, it's basically scanning an FM frequency, so it's using a radio to give you words.
right.
To me, that just doesn't sound right.
I liked the rods because the rods cannot be.
Yeah.
The daughter of the family, it was a mom, a dad, and the daughter.
Yeah.
And the mom was holding the rods. So they would ask a question, and they would either cross or they would go away. Like they would cross together, and they would stay parallel to each other, or they would like go to her neck. And it was like a yes/no question. So it was very interesting of how, like, whoever we were speaking with, spirit-wise, only would answer to the young daughter when she would ask the question.
I can understand why.
So I know, but I'm saying she would ask the question and then it would answer. So it was pretty.
Yeah. I mean, you got to remember that these are all men that were on this ship back in the day.
Correct.
And this was a beautiful girl. She was sweet. She was just pretty. So, of course, fucking you're on a ship full of men.
Yeah.
With a really pretty girl. Yeah.
Right.
You're going to get a lot of activity, which I'm kind of glad that she was there because we did get some really cool stuff.
We got more. Yeah, I think we may have gotten more stuff because she was probably their age when they were on the ship, because when the people were serving in the military, you know, they were 18.
Yeah, she looked to be
19, so she was around that age. I think she might have been 16, but yeah, they were of the same age, just a little bit younger than what the boys that were on the ship, or the men that were on the ship were.
I'm gonna have to see if I can't share this, because this is that ghost grid.
Okay.
And it shows right there. Look at that. Do you see that?
There's a man walking.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to save that, and we'll post that on our site, because I think I can probably download that.
Yeah, should be.
So yeah, we're setting some really cool stuff up, so you guys can kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Participate with us.
Yeah.
On
tell us what you think. What do you think it says? Because I hear different stuff than what Billy hears. So, and the others that we've had that, you know, were like, hey, come over and listen to this. Tell me what you hear. So it's probably like that Laurel and Yanny thing, to where you hear, depending on your age, different things. So
yeah, and I'm telling you guys, man, if you have been to the Yorktown, and you listen to our show, we want to hear your stories of your experiences.
Absolutely.
We would love to be able to revisit this and read your stories, any videos or photos that you have, send them to us. Me being a skeptic, yes, I'll look at them objectively, but I'll still look at them. And I will never tell you that I don't fucking believe you. But, you know, I really would love to see what people have to say to share with us, because this is such a cool thing. And I really, really, really want to find answers for these strange things that happened.
Right. We have some photos that we're hopefully be able to post onto our website, deadtimeradioshow.com. And that was pretty slick. Like the Connects one. I don't know if y'all know what the Connects thing is. It's a...
Yeah, that's a pretty cool app.
It's an app, and it measures like arms and legs, and it'll pick up your body figure. So if there's a person standing there, it will pick it up.
Right, it'll pick it up and put a wireframe in the body.
That's a wireframe, right. The legs,
almost looks
arms,
like anybody who's a 3D artist
when you put
3D
the dots.
models, when you actually build the skeleton for the 3D model, for rigging.
Right,
that's
the
what
dots.
It kind of looks like, yeah.
Yeah. So one of the guys that was with us, he was the last one of the group, and he turned around and he had the app on, and we caught somebody.
Yeah, that was pretty
We called
trippy.
a Connects.
That was way trippy.
Figure, and hopefully we'll be able to post that on the website, so that way y'all can get in there and look at it and see it. But it's just unexplainable. It's there. It was like it was helping us make sure everybody got off the ship, make sure everybody was safe. He was behind us.
Yeah.
And that is, I don't know if that's even more creepy or whatever, but just knowing that somebody was behind you and then you caught it on that app.
I'm just glad that I don't get scared easy.
Yeah.
Because
I don't either.
There's a lot of people that...
These are people. They just don't have bodies. So these
Right.
people that love this ship, that chose either after passing to come back to the ship or they died on the ship, they're just people. They just don't have bodies anymore. So they're just doing exactly what they do every day.
I think my curiosity overcomes my fear.
Yeah, probably.
Because I have
We
friends-
haven't ran into anything that will make your adrenaline drop yet. But
No,
when we do, you will know
we do have
it.
some EVPs that will make your blood turn cold.
Oh, man, there's some of them that are like...
Now, before we end the show, because we're coming up close to the end, this is like a 1 hour fucking promo for the next show. But we wanted to just do this because we have so much stuff that we look through. We wanted to take an hour at least to give you a history of the ship, let you know what the hell we've been doing, and how excited we are about it. But the one thing that was... the creepiest story is when our tour guide told us, and he said it was an unsubstantiated story, but apparently a group of teenagers had gotten on the ship and brought a Ouija board into the area we were at. So a lot of weird shit that I picked up on these EVPs totally makes me think
maybe it's
possible because
demons.
Ouija boards are bad shit, dude. You don't want to fuck with those things. They're just portals, and they can really open up a gate for something you really don't want to come around. I've had bad experiences with Ouija boards from the minute I tried one out.
Yeah, we want to do a show on Ouija boards too. But yeah, they did. They brought it on the ship, and they think that it opened for evil entities,
and
demons, or whatever however you identify it as.
And it sounds fascinating. Ooh, let's play with a Ouija board, but you can't handle what comes out. If you can't handle it, if you don't know how to handle it,
and then it will follow you and attach to you, and then it's affecting your whole entire life. And then you get sick because it's attached to you. And
there's a lot of bad things that can happen. A lot of bad things. I can tell you stories of shit that happened when I was a kid. And when I was younger in the military with friends that had tried to use that shit. And no, not for me, dude. I had one for a long time. I owned one.
It's not just a board game.
No, it's not a board game. It's a fucking... You want to call it a fucking Satan game? That's fine, because that's what Christians would call it. But there's other things wrong with it. But anyway, people, submit your stuff if you've ever been to the Yorktown. Give us your evidence. I promise you we'll be respectful of your evidence. We will give you the benefit of the doubt. And any of you people that on the next show listen to our EVPs and you hear stuff, tell us what you think you hear. Tell us what you think it's saying. Tell us what you think of the sound quality. And be respectful, but if you want to bash me, you can bash me. I'm cool with that. I'll probably laugh and probably play it. So who knows? But you guys, we want to thank you. We hope you enjoy the next show. And like I said, I think this is probably going to be a two-parter for this week. So sit back and relax, and the next one is going to be a little bit of a ride down what we've been doing.
Love ya. Thanks for listening.
Once again, we want to thank you for listening to the Dead Time Radio Show. You can get a hold of us at www.thedeadtimeradioshow.com, or you can send us an email at deadtimeradio.gmail.com. I'm all fucked up. Or you can do